Hi everyone, my name is Megan Rebello and I am a graduate student at Unity College, and this presentation will consist of a glimpse into the history of marine mammal exploitation. To start off, I wanted to talk about what exactly a marine mammal is, and a marine mammal does meet all the characteristics of a regular mammal, and that can be seen in the graphic on the left side. All mammals have body hair, or in a lot of marine mammals' cases, they have blubber to keep them warm. They are warm-blooded, they protect their young, they have milk to feed their young, they have a backbone, 3 middle ear bones, and usually they have specialized teeth. What makes them a marine mammal is they live mostly or all of their life in the ocean, and they depend on the ocean for their food and survival. And each taxonomic group has evolved from a different land mammal. They are adapted to the marine environment through different adaptations like paddle-like flippers and fins and streamlined bodies. They have adapted to extreme aquatic conditions, including darkness, different pressure gradients, temperature gradients, and depth. There are 4 different taxonomic classes of marine mammals. The cetaceans include whales, dolphins, and porpoises. The sirenians include manatees and dugongs. The pinnipeds include seals, sea lions, and walruses, and the marine physipeds include sea otters and polar bears. So I also wanted to include graphics of all these taxonomic groups. As you can see, the dugong and the manatee are in the top left, and the dugong I think is especially interesting because it's basically a manatee with a dolphin tail, which is very, very cool. We also have the physipeds, which are the polar bear and the otters on the right side. Bottom right, we have the walruses, seals, and sea lions. And we also have bottlenose dolphins, baleen whales, and killer whales. One thing I wanted to note is they all have different roles within the environment, and such as manatees are herbivores, the baleen whales are filter feeders, and we also have top predators like killer whales. So they all have different niches within their environment. Now I wanted to go over the dictionary definition of exploitation, which is the act of selfishly taking advantage of someone or a group of people in order to profit from them or otherwise benefit oneself. So that's what we are going to get into with the history of marine mammal exploitation and how each threat has led to a take in this species. So the first historical threat to marine mammals is hunting, trapping, and netting. Sealing began in the Stone Age, where they used to club seals and kill them for their blubber. Methods that later were used include harpoons, traps, nets to kill seal pups. Firearms were then also used to kill certain marine mammals. They were usually killed due to their demand for oil, hides, and ivory. The whaling started in ancient times in the Bay of Biscay, and commercial whaling was participated around multiple countries and nationalities, so many people decided to contribute to whaling. Modern whaling includes boats with harpoon cannons that began in 1860. Sirenians, so dugongs and manatees, were mostly wanted for their meat and blubber, and this led to the Steller sea cow that was hunted to extinction. Also, sea otters were hunted since the 1780s for the oriental fur trade. Overhunting can cause decrease in genetic diversity of many species and can limit population recovery rates. And I also wanted to touch on the influential legislation that has helped with all of these threats that I'm going to talk about. So some of them are the International Agreement on the Conservation of Polar Bears from 1973, the Convention on the Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources in 1980, the International Convention for the Regulation of Whaling in 1946, the well-known Marine Mammal Protection Act of 1972, the Endangered Species Act of 1973. There have also been smaller ones, like the Agreement on the Conservation of Small Cetaceans on the Baltic, Northeast Atlantic, Irish, and North Seas of 1991, the Agreement on the International Dolphin Conservation Program of 1999, and the Clean Water Act of 1972 and Clean Air Act of 1970. So I just wanted to include some illustrations of the historic hunting that started in the Stone Age. A lot of it would result in like the clubbing, which you can see in the top right corner, of sea lions. Also just netting, hunting them, basically just killing them for their resources. So this is similar to the first threat. This is a controlled kill, so they were killed for different reasons other than involving meat or oil or other resources. They were actually looked at as a threat, and this problem started around the 1900s, but obviously marine mammals were killed centuries before. But marine mammals were viewed as threats to humans, which is why they were controlled, killed, and they were looked at as a competition for seafood catches, so they would be stealing fishermen's food catches, and they thought that was a threat to their business, so they often just killed them in the result of that. They also caused damage to fishing gear, which is another reason why they were controlled killed. Seals and whales were deterring fish from fishing nets, so it was reducing catches in fisheries. Gray seals were actually found for vectors for parasites to certain fish like cod. Manatees were found to overtake rice fields and remove fish from gill nets. Polar bears' main concern for threatening human life, so they were often killed as from protection. And governments have encouraged marine mammal kills to protect fisheries. So most of this threat was actually a result from just a threat to fisheries and mankind. So here are some pictures of that. Just them spearing them or just intentionally killing them as they were a threat, and sometimes they were then used for their resources, but this was mostly just so they would not be threatening the fishery's success. Another big one that is more common today is bycatch. So accidentally entangling in fishing gear when marine mammals are caught and they're often killed. This started around the 1960s. It was due to modern changes in fishery technology and fishery frequencies. Passive gear has killed more marine mammals than active fishing gear, meaning that gear that has been cut off and just thrown into the ocean, not actively being used, has actually killed a lot of marine mammals. It can also be known as ghost fishing, so it's just catching marine mammals when the fishing gear is not actively in use. This bycatch can result from purse seines, trawls, long lines, and gill nets. It contributes to the mortality of humpback whales, right whales, and pinnipeds. The gill net entanglement has caused a decline in the population of California sea otters. Marine mammal bycatch has been used as food sometimes. When they catch them, they'll often use them for other resources. And long mesh nets were used to catch dugongs in Taiwan and Japan by fishermen, which has resulted in the species to be threatened. This is some visualizations of bycatch. We have a dolphin, sea lion, otter, and whale trapped in fishing line. This does not always lead to mortality, but often does when they can't get out or reach food. Another big threat to marine mammals is vessel strikes and also their river regulation devices that have been used in dams that have um, been seen to hurt manatees. So the observation of vessel sharks began in 1974. They were a major threat for Florida manatees, which is still true to this day, and many have scars and injuries from them, and many have been a cause of death for these manatees. In 1999 or 1990s, shipwrecks were recognized as a major threat to whales. In 1979, attention to mortality of manatees was found in flood dams and canals because these animals were taken with strong currents as they opened the gate to the dams, and they would become stuck in the openings and would often lead to them being killed. The endangered river otter or river dolphin has also died from river regulation devices. And here are some visuals of vessel strikes. Um, a lot of these, like this is a very common problem today and can often lead to extreme injuries and often death. Another big problem with marine mammal exploitation are oil spills and explosions and different types of pollution. The die-offs of marine mammals was a major concern since the mid to late 1980s. A very popular oil spill was the Exxon 1989 oil spill that caused the death of several thousand sea otters and 300 harbor seals. Marine mammals with fur, such as polar bears, otters, and seals, face the most threat from oil spills because they depend on their fur for insulation and often weighs them down when they are subjected to oil. Organochlorine contamination has limited reproductive success in many marine mammals, and polychlorinated biphenyls or PCBs have shown reduced vitamin A levels and thyroid hormones in the blood. Immunosuppression, contaminants in tissue, and eating contaminated prey. So when these marine mammals eat the contaminated prey from these oil spills and pollution, it often accumulates in the body, causing illnesses and different immune problems. The explosions often cause noise pollution and can cause shifts in the distribution and migration of different marine mammals and may even lead to auditory deficiencies. And here's some visuals from oil spills. You can see the otters are being weighed down by the oil and it's affecting them. The dolphins swimming in the oil, which can cause a lot of different immune problems and illnesses. I even included birds because birds are very affected by oil spills. So it is very detrimental threat to them. Another problem is limited carrying capacity, which was recognized around the 1950s and is still in present day. Um, Carrying capacity is regarding the number of animals an ecosystem can fully support, and this could be due to prey or habitat loss, just depending on the ecosystem itself and what it can fully sustain and support. Often habitat degradation has caused limited carrying capacity because it limits how many marine mammals can live in a habitat when habitats are lost. Limited prey availability, so if there isn't enough food, there will not be a lot of marine mammals in that area because the prey availability does not support the survival of these animals. Often fishery reductions like herring and mackerel often lead to limited carrying capacities. they are forced to change distributions with limited prey, so they're often move to a different place and migrate to other